How's it going, everybody? Jeff Slakey here in the Shelton School District office with Superintendent Wyeth Jessee. How you doing?
Pretty good, Jeff.
First time, I think, conversing here this school year, and let's just get right into it. You are a big proponent and talk a lot about the strategic plan. Where are we at on this? How's the community and the staff and everybody working towards this thing?
Great question. We're on our third year of the strategic plan. I mean, I can't. Your face is telling me, like, oh my God, I can't believe this, right?
Yeah.
Like, we've come a long way. My first year here, we created it. It was the kind of the tail end of COVID. So it was a lot of restrictions, and so worked with our community. Over 1,000 people in this community gave input to the strategic plan. Came up with 4 priorities. One is high quality literacy. The other one's safe and welcoming environments, college and career readiness, and effective educators and leaders. So we know that those are the ingredients to really best meeting the needs of our students. That's, again, what their data says, that's what our community says, that's what our staff say. So we've been just trucking along, really focused down on those initiatives, and that's where our money's at, that's where our energy's at, and that's where we're, again, getting outcomes that are really positive for kids.
I saw the sign out on the front of the district building that said the readability scores are up from about 25% to about 49% over the course of the last 2 years. How does that, that sounds like it's something to at least have a sign about, so talk to me about how that is.
Yeah, and so we want to celebrate some of our successes for sure. It's hard work on behalf of our students, our families, and our staff. In this particular case, it was this is 3rd grade reading and writing scores, English Language Arts, ELA, and on the state assessment. So it's a rigorous assessment, and so we were able to move from just 2 years ago, like right before the strategic plan. So we were at 25% of our 3rd graders were meeting or exceeding standard, and now we're at 43. I wish it was 49. I'll take 49 anytime, Jeff, but it was 43, which is is a significant increase.
Yeah.
You don't normally. That's an abnormal, exceptional outcome for any district to move that quickly on a number. And compared to other districts with a similar kind of demographic as Shelton School District, we are outpacing those other districts too.
And so does that start more back in the pre-K, 1st and 2nd grades, or is that where it's really starting to get heavy in the 3rd grade system?
That's not a straightforward answer, Jeff, for a variety of reasons, but the most of it's like, you got a student in front of you today, do the best you can with them, right? And so we build on plans like that. As I like to say, some students, some classrooms, some schools. And so, unfortunately, not all things are equal. And here in Shelton, we're really trying to create a high-quality education for every student, every classroom, every school. We've got some areas of strength and some areas of growth for us. Not all cohorts of students are also created equal, and so really just trying to build our skill set to close that gap, as soon as we can. But if you have a team that's working really well, and educators work, when they work together really well, they can get amazing outcomes. And so we've got that going on here. And we're just trying to replicate it across our system. We'll keep working on that. Our educators are working really hard. They're building their skill set. And so you can start to see those bumps all over the place. In others, we haven't, and so we're going to figure that out. But once this last part is, Jeff, that's 50 or 60 kids in 3rd grade that normally wouldn't have met standard.
Right.
And that research says if you can read at grade level in 3rd grade, your trajectory, your college and career readiness is going to be outstanding because you can be ready to read more material, you gain more skill set. Reading and writing is fundamental for all the content areas, all the way to getting a job, right? And so it's really important things. And when we can close the gaps, more kids are at standard. The next grade level, it's where our resources can go to. We have limited resources here so that it can highlight there's less kids we got to get to grade level because they've already achieved it. And so we'd love to go early, love to get that. Not able to do that for obviously every student in every classroom, but we are working hard. Our teachers are gaining their skill sets or getting there and getting those kids there earlier and earlier. And that's just helpful.
The asks from the state, from OSPI, the asks from the parents when it comes to types of education and things like that, those continue to build up and add on to already a full plate for you and the staff in the district. Budget time now. What are you looking at? Are you asking or going to talk with the legislators here upcoming, or talk with Superintendent Reichdahl at OSPI on how can we make everything a little more equitable, make sure that we're using our dollars correctly and getting those good outcomes, like you were saying?
That's a great question, and you're hitting me today with the things that I and my team are wrestling with. It is tricky times. I want to be honest. There's two sides of this. One is, yes, Jeff, school districts like Shelton and districts all across the state are really challenged right now with resources. Basic ed funding is limited. Your dollar doesn't go as far. And I know families out there here in our community all across the state are really it's really hard to pay my water bill. It's really been challenging to get some of the groceries we want to get, afford housing. Those are things that are putting a lot of pressures on households, and they're also putting a lot of pressures on districts. Those significant increases in some of those bills are really hard for us because our revenue's not growing that much.
Right.
So when your revenue's not outpacing your bills and you're just trying to provide the same services we have every year, like you're saying, and the requirements and the pressure just seems to be more. They're just asking us to do more. Schools, and we've talked about this before, schools are seen now as the center of communities, more than ever, and so they've taken on additional things. Mental health, food, additional entertainment, engagement, clubs, all those things. I mean, that's a lot. It's
right.
a lot, and it's a lot to manage, and it's not to give us something where we don't want to provide those things. It's just right now in this very tough, limited resources, we just can't do everything, and most certainly not the way that everybody wants it. And so I don't want to be put in that position. I don't think other districts want to be put in that position. And so that's one thing where I need more basic ed dollars. Basic education dollars will help us cover these basic expenses that just continues to increase. It is the food. It is the power bills that we have to pay. It is the cost of getting kids from point A to B. It's the cost of hey, staff earn more money. You want to have enrichment? I got to pay for that, right? Mm-hmm. And so, and we want to do it. And I just want to be really clear. We want to continue to do those things, expand where we can, and we provide mental health services. That's not somebody's giving us money for it. And so, but it's critical, right? Some of these kids really need it. And so schools have to take it up because we know that helps them and their family and helps obviously the education of the kids. I have to have my one note, and I'll make it brief and to the point is, for us, Jeff, it also doesn't give us an excuse to still get outcomes for kids. I just am not a believer. Yes, this is really hard. We're not going to be able to do some of the same things we've done in the past. At the same time, I'm going to be like, all right, we got to still keep ourselves that much more focused, that much more right on to what is it that's going to get the best outcomes for our students, what they need. We need to respond to, get there. It just means some of the other things that happen are going to be even that much more limited in knowing our resources need to go to these specific things, what the kids need. Really challenging. For the Shelton School District and some of the other districts I know here in Mesa County and across the state, we're on a razor's edge. I mean, it's just the revenue is not enough to meet all of our bills, and that's really not a place I want to be. And doing the best we can. It's a changing environment for sure.
Well, I know you're out in the schools quite often. Your lieutenants here in the office are out looking at things happening too. What are some of the big wins that you've heard? Just a couple maybe from an elementary or the middle or the high school. What have you been hearing recently about some positive moving forwards from the school?
Oh my gosh, so much, Jeff. I mean, yes, reading and writing is everywhere. Kids are loving it. I'm heard from one of our long-term paraeducators, just the other week was like, oh my gosh, these kids are coming to middle school, like really want to be readers and writers. It's really cool. It's outstanding, right? Like really touches my heart. That's what we're really trying to get is that, it's not just meeting standard, but it's loving to learn and read.
Mm-hmm.
That's a pretty strong thing. We got a number of things that are happening for our student leaders. So like a lot of things that are happening inside the schools where students are helping other students do their being part of the community, contributing, whether that's classroom responsibilities all the way to I'm a scout, I watch my kids, I'm recognizing and praising other students helping to teach younger students how to follow the expectations, leading assemblies. We've got a lot of that going all the way up into the high school. OBJH has had a great start. They're really working on some things about positive energy in there. Kids are working really hard about getting their homework done. The staff are really working to try to change, sometimes they're 13 years old and hey, they're 13 years old,
yeah.
Right? And so really working on that and trying to change that energy. So it's been working really well there. And then at our high schools, all three are just super double down. Student leadership all over the place. They want to engage student voice. They're really in the center of the classroom. That's right in our strategic plan. That's one of our beliefs is really empowering our students in addition to inspiring and challenging them. And so there's work programs I know you're very well aware of. We're really trying to spread out opportunities for kids to get out in the real world. A lot of our kids are limited in their access to what that is. And,
Mm-hmm.
And I know kids dream up all sorts of things. And unfortunately, social media taints what that real experience is until you get on the job and you're like, oh, that's the skills that are required for this job. That's what I would have to do in an 8-hour, 9-hour shift, right? And so we want that for our students. So we're growing those opportunities. Our local businesses and government agencies have really partnered well with us in that too. So yeah, just a lot of offerings. We had our kickoff for I think you were there too, and so we had a kickoff event at Shelton High School. We have so many clubs and activities.
For the clubs.
All three high schools, can participate. Students in our three high schools can participate in those clubs and activities. I mean, it felt like there was 100. I know that's not true, but there's something for everyone, I think.
Well, the other thing too on that is that the teacher leaders on those clubs too are putting in a lot of their own work and extra time to make sure these kids have those opportunities for some clubs. And there's a ton more clubs than when I was in school, and it's just a really full. It's more full, I guess.
Yeah, and you saw. I mean, even at that event, you can see a lot of students there manning or just standing at the table, trying to be able to communicate what it is and do outreach to other students to try to get them to join those clubs. And just lots of kind of positive energy, and thankful that the staff want to help lead those ability to engage kids and keep them connected to school.
I got a question about technology, cell phones, smart watches, tablets. I got an email the other day about, if the watch is there to tell time, that's awesome, but your students shouldn't be texting or using your watch as a communication device, even in the elementary schools and phones and things like that. What is the standard? Are there standard rules in the district for that?
Yeah, that's a great one. Right now we have some pilot programs at OMS and OBJH. So at the middle and junior high, they both are no cell phones allowed during the school day, and so they've communicated that out to the parent group over the summer, and at the start of school, they've taught the kids how to do it. What's the expectations for using or not using them, and if they're out, what's the steps of progressive discipline around that, and really trying to instruct kids. They do get in the way, and there's a lot of research to support the ability to keep the cell phones at bay,
Mm-hmm.
and really a focus on their learning, right? They can be a real distraction, whether that's a watch or a cell phone, for sure. We do have tablets inside the schools. We use those for a variety of reasons, so use those very purposefully to support student learning. High school is still working on it. They got their posters up, and they got some expectations at the high schools. Obviously less so of an issue at the elementary level.
Yeah.
So.
It's just interesting because I mean, I remember if you have an issue or you have to pick up. If I got picked up when I was in elementary or middle, whatever, the folks would call the office.
Correct.
They don't, you don't have to call me and say, hey, I'm outside or something like that.
Yeah, and I mean, I think, families have become accustomed to contacting each other 24/7, right? And so the world's really flipped on its head. Unfortunately, I think we have to remind ourselves that not all technology is necessarily beneficial for certain activities. And so some of those activities include learning at school. And if you've got entertainment or some other way to be entertained, you would want, that gets in the way of, again, our objectives here for the district, the student learning. That's straightforward. And I think sometimes we just have to remind ourselves, like, you wouldn't give your kid a TV, would you, to plop up and prop up while they're in the middle of their history lesson? Well, that's what the cell phone's doing. That is what it's doing. It's entertaining, and it's getting in the way. I would, when we went to school, no,
it wouldn't.
No one's going to give us a TV. Couldn't have your Game Boy or your
whatever
device that no, those were not allowed either for a reason. Yeah. And so it's just an extension of what this new technology is offering.
In addition to the opportunities for cyberbullying and all of that stuff, which is part of it.
And the inverse is the social skills. We want to build social skills, you need to engage with other kids and not with your device.
Right.
The device isn't a very good vehicle for building social skills.
Right.
To read the face, build the dynamics, like you can obviously read, the nonverbal signs and know how to do it, give eye to contact like we are. Need to have those things and build relationships and exchange differences in opinion and debate topics that are obviously in the classroom. We want that.
Let's talk about that for a second. We're in the middle. I mean, as we're filming this, the auditor here in the county is going to be sending out the ballots. Do you encourage, or is it based on the school and the age, how much you have a conversation regarding current events, civics, and issues like that in the classroom?
Not a new topic, really. Honestly, I know in this era of seems to be a lot of partisanship, and so we're a non-public entity. I mean, a non-political entity. We're not looking to advance any particular party or things. We're really meant to talk about what are the topics, what are the facts, how are the people debate. We've already sent a communication out to our educators, reminding them that even your own opinion, please keep it on check. Really trying to engage the kids about the issues that are out there, right? And so we want to encourage those abilities to kids can share what their own beliefs are and thoughts around the facts in a way that is respectful and informative, not to challenge anybody in a way that it's bad to have your own thoughts and beliefs, obviously within an appropriateness.
Right.
I just did that part.
Yeah, it makes sense.
But and just making sure that that we are really helping kids. That's part of being a learner, and it's not just those topics, right? Like I know the big election coming up next month. That's fine for presidential or for the governorship, but I also just day-to-day things that impact your own community. We really love that kind of conversation. What is it about Mesa County that needs to help this economy thrive, right? What are the things that managing conserving our environment, but at the same time thinking about job creation. Like all those topics that are out there, we want to think about having our kids engage in those on an ongoing basis as opposed to just this event coming up again next month.
Yeah. Well, I'll be back in here in a couple months to check in on things as we get ready for winter break and move the calendar, not the school year, but the calendar to 2025 already. Holy Moses. So I'll be back in to check in with Superintendent Wyeth Jessee here in the Shelton School Districts just to see how things are going. Until then, thank you for your time.
Thanks so much, Jeff.